Question: what if the most emotionally powerful copywriting framework ever written is also the simplest one? 3 steps. Problem-Agitate-Solution. That's it. The PAS framework has been making readers reach for their wallets since the very first mail-order advertisers figured it out more than a century ago. And today I'm going to show you exactly why this decades-old formula still outperforms almost every shiny new copywriting trick in 2026. Stick with me, because the mistake most copywriters make with PAS isn't writing it wrong, stopping it way too early. That's the real secret. Back in the golden age of mail-order advertising, direct response writers discovered something that changed marketing forever. When you name a reader's pain, twist the knife a little, and then offer relief, conversions explode. The PAS framework is so old it predates the internet, predates social media, predates most copywriting courses ever taught. And yet in 2026, PAS is still the backbone of every high-converting landing page, every email that actually gets clicked, and every advertorial that prints money. Why? Because human psychology hasn't changed. Pain still demands a solution. That's not a copywriting insight, that's a biological one. Here's the thing most copywriters completely miss. PAS doesn't try to pull readers into your story. It enters the story they're already living. Think about that for a second. Every other framework, AIDA, FAB, even the before-after bridge, asks the reader to step into a new world you've created. PAS does the opposite. PAS meets them in their world, in their pain, in their 3M lying awake worry. And when you meet someone exactly where they already are, they trust you instantly. That trust is what makes the eventual solution feel like a rescue, not a sales pitch. Step 1 of PAS is deceptively simple. You name the pain. But here's the part most beginners get completely wrong. You don't dance around it. You don't soften it. You don't politely suggest there might be a small issue worth considering. You name it so specifically that the reader feels like you're reading their diary. Are they tired? Don't say fatigue. Say they wake up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep. Are they broke? Don't say financial stress. Say they check their bank account and feel their stomach drop. Precision is the currency of trust. That specificity is doing something absolutely critical. It's building trust before you ever ask for a sale. When a reader thinks, how did this person know exactly what I'm going through? Their defenses drop. They're no longer scanning for the sales pitch. They're leaning in. They're reading every word. And that moment of recognition, that this is me feeling, is the single most valuable emotional state you can create as a copywriter. PAS builds this state in the very first sentence, which is exactly why it converts so well, even when the rest of your copy is mediocre. Step 2 is where most copywriters quit way too early. They name the pain in one sentence, then they jump straight to the solution. That is a massive mistake. The agitate step is where PAS actually does the heavy lifting. Agitating doesn't mean being dramatic for the sake of drama. It means showing the reader what happens if the problem goes unaddressed. What does this problem cost them tomorrow? Next month? Next year? Over an entire lifetime? You're not inventing pain. The reader already feels it. You're just giving it shape, giving it a number, giving it urgency. Let's say someone is losing 2 hours a day to disorganization. Don't just tell them it's a problem. Multiply it for them. That's 14 hours a week. That's 60 hours a month. That's over 700 hours every single year. And what could they do with 700 recovered hours? Learn a new skill, start a side business, actually be present with their kids on Saturday morning. Suddenly, the abstract inconvenience becomes a real, calculable, life-altering cost. That's what agitating does. It transforms this is annoying into this is actively stealing my future. And once a reader feels that, the solution stops being optional. The longer you agitate, the more powerfully your solution lands. This is counterintuitive advice. Most writers want to race toward the offer as fast as possible. They think the reader is bored or annoyed or ready to scroll PAST. They're wrong. The reader is leaning in. They want to know how to escape the pain you just described. So when you finally deliver the solution, after a thorough agitate, it feels like oxygen to someone underwater. That emotional whiplash from pain to relief in a single sentence is what makes PAS convert at rates other frameworks can only dream about. Step 3 is where you finally introduce your product. But here's the only rule that matters. Only after the pain has been thoroughly agitated. Not before. Not halfway through the article. After. The reader should feel a literal sense of relief when your solution appears on the page. It should feel like the obvious answer to the obvious problem you've been describing for the last 200 words. If you've executed steps 1 and 2 correctly, your product doesn't feel like a sales pitch. It feels like a rescue boat. It feels like the only logical next step. That relief moment is everything. It's the difference between a reader who clicks away and a reader who pulls out their credit card. When someone has been sitting in pain for 30 seconds of straight reading and you finally hand them a way out, they don't evaluate the offer the way they would a cold pitch. They grab it. They don't ask, is this the best option? They ask, will this make the pain stop? And if your product genuinely solves the problem you've described in detail, the answer is obviously yes. That's the entire psychology of PAS in one breath. Here's where the PAS framework gets really sophisticated. The the best PAS copy doesn't just agitate the practical cost of the problem. It agitates the psychological cost. A productivity tool isn't selling time. Time is abstract. Nobody wakes up craving time as a concept. What they're craving is the feeling of being in control, of not drowning, of opening their laptop without that knot in their stomach. A diet product isn't selling slimness, it's selling confidence. It's selling the feeling of walking into a room without flinching. PAS works at this deeper emotional layer, and that's exactly why it cuts through all the noise. Let's break that productivity example down a little further. A beginner writes, "Stop wasting time with bad tools. Try our app." That's a feature list, not copy. An expert writes, "You open your laptop every morning and feel the dread before you've even started. Another day of tabs everywhere, half-finished projects, that constant voice in your head telling you you're falling behind. What if tomorrow you woke up, sat down, and actually knew what to do first?" That's what our app gives you. Same product, same offer, same price, same. The second version agitates the emotional pain and positions the solution as emotional relief. Guess which one converts? Same principle with the diet product. A beginner writes, "Lose 20 pounds with our program. Boring." An expert writes, "You've avoided mirrors for months. You cancel plans because nothing fits right. You watch everyone else order whatever they want at dinner while you calculate calories in your head. Imagine walking into a restaurant next week and not thinking about the menu once. Imagine grabbing any shirt in your closet and feeling good. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you fix the actual problem." PAS does all the heavy lifting. The product becomes almost an afterthought. Here's the single biggest mistake I see with PAS. Writers agitate for exactly one sentence and then immediately move on. They write something like, "Struggling with back pain. That must be tough. Our mattress fixes that." That is not PAS. That is PAS, with the entire middle step surgically removed. And it doesn't convert because you haven't built any emotional pressure. The reader hasn't felt urgency. They haven't visualized the cost of doing nothing for another year. They've just been told a fact and offered a product. No transformation, no conversion. You have to twist the knife gently before you offer the cure. So when should you reach for the PAS framework? Almost always, honestly. PAS is the default starting point for advertorials, sales pages, email subject lines, Facebook ad copy, and video sales letters. Anytime your reader is sitting in pain and your product genuinely solves that pain, PAS is the right move. It's especially powerful for high-ticket offers where the reader needs emotional justification for a big purchase decision. Lower-ticket impulse buys can sometimes skip the agitate step, but if you have the word count, never skip it. The agitate is where the conversion magic actually happens. That said, PAS isn't always the perfect tool. If your reader isn't actually in pain, if they're buying something aspirational, a luxury item, a pure want, agitating the problem can feel forced and fake. Imagine agitating the problem of not owning a yacht. It doesn't work because nobody feels genuine pain about not having a yacht. For aspirational products and pure desires, frameworks like Before After Bridge or the Dream 100 work much better. PAS is for needs, not wants. Pain, not pleasure. Keep that distinction clear in your head and you'll know exactly when to deploy it. Quick recap of the 3 steps before we wrap. Problem. Name the pain so specifically that the reader feels seen. Don't dance around it, don't soften it, don't apologize for it. Agitate. Turn up the heat by showing the daily, monthly, and lifetime cost of the problem. Make it feel urgent, make it feel real, make it feel expensive. Solution. Only now, only after the pain has been thoroughly amplified, do you finally introduce your product. The longer you agitate, the more powerful the solution lands. Decades of proof. Billions in revenue. That's PAS. This is exactly the framework we built Advertorial Wizard around. If you're writing advertorials, you already know PA is the spine of the entire format. Problem goes in the headline. Agitate fills the first half of the article. Solution is the offer. Most advertorial templates get this exactly backwards. They lead with the product and try to manufacture a problem later, which is why they flop. PAS inverts that, and that's why advertorials built on PAS consistently print money. If you want a tool that structures your advertorial around PAS automatically, with templates designed by direct response veterans, the link is in the description.